All right, let's get into it. We are breaking down e-learning design on a shoestring by Marina Arshavskiy. And, this is really a practical guide for anyone who's suddenly been handed the job of creating training with, let's be honest, almost no budget to speak of.
So does this whole scene sound familiar? Your boss taps you on the shoulder and says, hey, we need a new online course for the sales team, and we kind of needed it yesterday. And of course, the big catch is you've got zero budget and what feels like even less time to pull it all off.
Well, if that's you, first things first, take a deep breath. You are so not alone in this. It happens all the time, turning all kinds of talented people into what are called accidental instructional designers. And that's exactly what this is for. It's your survival guide. Now, this table gets right to the heart of the matter. On one side, e-learning offers this incredible flexibility, right? You can access it anytime, anywhere. But then, on the other side, you've got these major risks. People just don't retain the information, and when they get stuck, there's nobody there to help. This exact tension is why smart design is so critical.
So, how in the world do you tackle this? Well, Arshavskiy gives us this brilliantly simple philosophy, the build, borrow, buy framework. Think of it as your secret weapon, a roadmap for creating something great no matter what your resources look like.
Let's break that down real quick. First, you can build. That means creating new, super-focused content. Or you can borrow, which is all about cleverly repurposing stuff you already have. Think old PowerPoint decks or company handbooks. And finally, you can buy, making really smart, strategic purchases for tools only when you absolutely have to.
For our purposes today, we're going to zero in on the absolute foundation of this whole thing, how to build smart. Honestly, this is where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck, or in this case, for your lack of buck.
Okay, so our first building block is actually a huge mindset shift. It's called backward design. The big idea here is that instead of starting with a giant mountain of content you think you need, you start with the finish line and work your way back.
So here's the magic of it. Backward design totally flips the traditional process on its head. You start by asking, what should my learners be able to actually do when this is all over? Every single thing you create, every video, every quiz, is built specifically to serve that one goal. There's no fluff, no wasted time.
And this lays out the 3 stages just perfectly. First, you identify the desired outcome. What's the goal? Then, you figure out the evidence. How will you prove they've actually learned it? And only then, once you have answers to those 2 questions, do you start planning the actual learning activities and content.
All right, so we've got our structure. But, a brilliant structure means nothing if your learners are bored to tears. That brings us to our next critical piece, keeping people motivated. And for that, we turn to something called the ARCS model.
The A stands for attention. You have to hook them, and you have to do it fast. Maybe it's a shocking statistic or really relatable story, or a question that makes them think. You've got to cut through all the noise and grab their focus right from the very first screen. Next up is R for relevance. And this one might be the most important of all. Every single learner is subconsciously asking, so what? What's in this for me? You have to connect the dots for them. Show them how this will help their job, solve their problems, or reach their goals. If they don't see the relevance, you've already lost. Then we get to C for confidence. People need to believe that they can actually do this. And you build that confidence piece by piece. You start with really clear objectives, you break down big topics into small, manageable chunks, and you give them plenty of chances for small wins along the way. And finally, we have S for satisfaction. The whole experience needs to feel rewarding. This can be as simple as getting positive feedback on a quiz or seeing their new skills work in a practice scenario. The goal is for them to finish the course feeling really good about what they just accomplished. And here is a fantastic time-saver tip from the book that ties right back to building confidence. When you make a quiz, set up automated feedback. That instant, that's right, or a little hint when they get it wrong gives them immediate reinforcement, and it boosts their confidence without you having to do a thing. It's just so efficient and so effective. Okay, so we know our goals, and we have a plan to keep learners motivated. But how do we make the course engaging without a Hollywood-sized budget? Let's dig into some really low-cost ways to create high-impact learning. And the author absolutely nails it with this quote. A giant wall of text is pretty much a guaranteed way to make your learners' eyes glaze over. We have to get them doing, thinking, and participating, not just passively clicking next.
And the great news is you don't need fancy, expensive software to do this. Simple things like telling a story, asking a challenging question, or even building a basic drag-and-drop activity can completely transform a boring course into an active experience. For example, let's look at Socratic questioning. A simple clarifying question like this one forces the learner to pause, think, and connect the abstract idea to their actual real-world job. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about making the knowledge stick because it's now personal.
Or you could try a challenging question. This one pushes them way beyond just memorizing a fact. It encourages them to analyze, to evaluate, to really grapple with the nuances of a topic instead of just accepting it at face value. That's where true learning happens.
And check out this amazing on-the-cheap tip for creating realistic scenarios. You don't need a film crew. Seriously, your smartphone, a cheap little tripod, and some decent lighting from a window is all you need to shoot authentic, relatable videos that bring your training to life.
So, after all this, what is the big takeaway? It's really this simple. Resourcefulness is way more important than resources. It's not about the money you have, it's about the mindset you bring to the project. And this final quote from the author just drives that point home. You have to start with the learner. You've got to see the world from their perspective, understand their real needs, and design for that. That right there is the secret sauce. So remember this, your budget might be a constraint, but it is not a barrier. It doesn't have to stop you from creating something genuinely effective and engaging. So now that you've got the framework, what are you going to build first?